I wish I could play music, but Facebook shuts me down every time I play music. What else is possible, Facebook? Today I'm Corey Michelle, if you don't know me already, and we're going to talk about why I stopped following the light feeling tonight. It is 8 p.m. in gorgeous sunny Vancouver, Canada. Check this out. And what I've been noticing as I sit at this little desk right here, there's planes that land in the water over there. It's amazing. I love water landings. It makes me so happy. I'm like, yeah. All right, so there we are, peoples. Thanks for joining me. It's really hot here today. And apparently this Airbnb, they're not used to having it be this hot. And I'm in my tank top. I'm going to show you here. I've got these. I've got a couple of these that I'm going to be giving away at the Art of Living Crazy Possible. You can barely see it because I'm a crazy possible. This shirt's a little tight on me. Oh, wow. Hi from Norway. Hi, Jen. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Donna. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, everybody. Hi, Andy. Hi, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm super excited to talk about this topic, too, because it's something that really changed my reality and is changing a lot of my clients' realities too, because there's this whole thing that we are taught in Access Consciousness that's really an amazing tool, but it's people take it and like bastardize it. And I was doing it too, so I want to share a little bit about what that is, how you do it, how you're bastardizing, potentially, you might not be doing this, how you're potentially bastardizing it for yourself, and how to stop it so you can create your life. Because when you are bastardizing, and by the way, Facebook, that's not a bad word, when you're bastardizing the light heavy tool, following the lightness, you will not create what you want, and you'll be left wondering, going, why am I keep choosing lightness, why is my life not showing up the way I would like it to? I can tell you exactly why. Well, one of the reasons why, it could be lots of reasons. If you were anything like me, I pretty much jacked myself up in a lot of different ways with my own awareness and with choosing and creating my life and, you know, following other people and all sorts of stuff. So unlocking all of that, but this was a huge key for me. So this is also, I would love for you guys to interact with me if you have any questions or anything like that, because it's way more fun that way. Michelle says, yeah, that's not light. All right, so we might be on in totality tonight for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, just kind of depending on how many questions you guys have and how much stuff I can get through. But this is like a little mini class that I'm gifting you guys because I think it's really important to really look at where you're choosing from, because you can be using the Access tools all day long and life could be getting better, but if it's not the way that you would like it to be, like if it's not totally changing like dynamically, then you might just have something a little bit off, and this might be one of the things. Okay, so how many of you guys are familiar with the Access Consciousness tools? Give me a heart or a heck yeah, because they're amazing. So grateful for the Access tools, for every freaking facilitator who's facilitating them, for Gary and Dane who are freaking leading the way, for Simone and Brendan who are now going to be facilitating the Choice of Possibility classes around the world. It's just like, oh, I'm so grateful to be a part of something that's creating dynamic change in people's lives, in consciousness, in the world, in people's bodies. Like, you can literally change anything with these tools. And if you want to have things change faster, then this might be helpful for you. All right, I just want to make sure I don't spill my water here because I want to drink it. I don't want to spill it. Okay, so I got some notes here. I'll be looking at my notes. So basically, how many of you guys are following the lightness? You take this tool, the truth will make you feel light, and lies will make you feel heavy. How many of you guys are aware of that tool? Okay, that was a tool that I learned 7 years ago that literally changed my entire reality. My whole reality went, oh, because I had been choosing against myself. I had been aware of things and then I kept choosing against myself. I kept choosing the heavy because of lots of different reasons, but I didn't know that the lightness, the expansiveness was actually what was true for me. That was the universe's message to me, right? And when I got it, I was like, oh, that's amazing. This is like the best thing in the world, right? But what happened is I started choosing light, choosing light, choosing light, choosing light, choosing light. And then all of a sudden, everything was light. And I was like, was this pulled? It doesn't just run. I don't know what you're talking about, Melissa. I'm live right now. Everything started to get light. So then I had all of these light choices. And at some point I remember going, okay, so there's a lot of lightness. What do I choose? Like, what do I actually choose here? And I remember, you know, if you've ever been at a buffet, that's actually like a really good buffet of food. It's like delicious. And you're hungry, but you're not like starving, like you can eat everything. You have to choose. You can't possibly eat everything there, right? So you got to choose. And what I was looking at was like, okay, great. So everything's light, but now what do I choose? Okay. All right. What will actually create the future I would like to have? And at that point, all I really knew, and for me, like the way I came into really working on my stuff and consciousness and things like that was money. I jacked myself so bad with money, and that was the thing I was constantly working on. So what I knew was I had a different future that was available with money that I hadn't actualized yet. I knew ease was available. I knew I could have a lot of it. I knew that I could be making a difference in the world, contributing to people. I didn't know how at all, but I just knew things, but I didn't really have words for them. I didn't have definitions. I just knew that where I was, there was a huge gap between where I was and what was possible. And when I was using the Access tools, things started to change. But there was still a really big gap for a while. So what I looked at was, wait a second, so if everything's light, then does everything that's light actually lead to or create what I know is possible? Guess what? Not everything that's light creates what you would like to create as your life. So I sat there as like the typical humanoid going, I don't know what I want my life to be like. There's so much, I don't want to limit it. You guys ever do that where you're like, I don't want to limit what I choose because I don't want to limit anything now that I'm open to infiniteness and infinite possibilities, right? Perhaps the lightness is not a creative or tool of creation. It is. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I haven't actually given you the information on this yet. So I was like, wait a second, I don't want to choose. I don't want to limit anything. I want everything available to me. And I realized that when I was open to everything, then I wasn't actually really looking at what I would really like my life to be like. And I love the question that Gary Douglas asks is, what would make your life, what can you create and what can you have and what can you be that would make your life worth living? So I started asking that question and I was like, well, it's not going to be just chasing the lightness around to have a lighter life. That's for sure, because that would be better, but where I came to actually create something, and I don't know what it is yet, but I came to create something on the planet. I came to have an impact in some way. I knew I had come to leave some sort of a legacy. Did I know what? Like I said, I did not know what it was, right? But what I did know is that just following the light around was not going to create it. Now here's the thing. The lightness is your awareness, okay? That lightness, but there's two things that people bastardize it with. Number one is they go into the feeling of it. So they're looking for some body sensation, you're looking for some feeling of happiness, right? But what the lightness actually is it's the lightness in terms of weight of energy. So the lighter the energy is, the more spacious it is, the less atomic weight it has. So the difference between the weight of this, the lightness or the heaviness of this, and this are different, right? So the lighter things, the light or awarenesses are the ones that are more spacious. That's you as an infinite being are space. So that's why lightness is your awareness of what is the match to your infinite beingness. The heaviness are lies, are limitations, are programs. They contract us. They make us go solid, right? And those are the ones that, the light and heavy, that's what we're looking for. It's not a feeling. It's not an emotion. And that's why specifically I said why I stopped following the light feeling. Because I was looking for some feeling to feel, because that's what I was taught. And then I learned access, and I was like, oh, I just kind of meshed them together. Because everybody out there, not everybody, I learned in other modalities, like you feel it. But feeling is attached to emotion, which is attached to significance, which is attached to a whole bunch of judgment. So if your filter of light and heavy is coming through this whole filter system of judgment, then you're going to be missing out on a lot of different awarenesses and a lot of different choices that you could be having that might actually match what you're looking for, what you're asking for, okay? Donna says, true. Okay, so then that also means that the heaviness isn't emotional. It isn't like devastating. It isn't make you sad. It's just heavy. Heavy, not dark, not bad. Light is not good, dark is not bad, right? So, but we confuse these because so many of us have done all sorts of different modalities, so we're trying to add them together. But adding stuff that's not true to something that actually will give you space and the truth for you doesn't actually work, okay? So this is one place where you've got to look at what is actually light and expansive for you, not just what matches your point of view, how you can sort of wiggle it in and bastardize it to how it could possibly work for you in your own way, because that's just another bastardization of it, okay? So the lightness, we're actually talking about atomic weight, the actual weight of the molecules being light and expansive. A lot of times it's like, your body relaxes. You go, you might breathe a little bit. There might be some body sensations and there might not. And heaviness is always like, so somebody said something to me the other day and I literally go, I mean, I didn't even do it on purpose. I was like, really? You think that's true for you? Like, it was so heavy that was my reaction to their, like, what was going on over there, right? So if you ever see me doing that, that's like, wait a second, maybe I've misidentified a lightness and a heaviness. Or maybe not, maybe you're right on. It doesn't even matter. But sometimes what we do is we want to make things light because of our judgments of them, because of our points of view. How many of you guys have ever made a relationship light when it really wasn't? I did that not long ago, a couple years ago. I ignored all of my awareness because I had made this guy and all the amazing things that were happening so right and light that I couldn't see all of the stuff that wasn't actually light. It was actually heavy and I was making it light. So we do that too, right? So when you're going into the feelings of it, you're gonna twist and bastardize it into something that's actually not true usually, because thoughts and feelings and emotions are lower harmonics, okay? When I say lower harmonics is they are contrived from knowing, being, perceiving, and receiving. So much of the time, a feeling or an emotion, number one, it's not ours, but two, we're perceiving something that we turn into something that we can make significant and meaningful for ourselves, okay? So if you're doing that with your awareness, you will literally choose things from a limited space. okay? So if you ditch the feeling part and just ask what's light, not light feeling, you might actually get a different awareness. So play with that, let me know how it goes. Okay, so there's that part. Okay, and this whole feeling thing, so first of all, I got to get that out of the way, right? And then the second thing is, when you are where I was like, I don't know, there's so much that I'd want to create. I don't know. I don't want to limit what I'd like my life to be like. I want all of it. When you're in that space and you haven't actually said, no, I want my life to be like this. If you haven't actually committed to that, if you haven't actually demanded of yourself that, excuse me, I just ate dinner. What you're doing is you're letting the universe know that you are not clear. You can't actually create a demand for yourself until you get clear on what you'd like to have. Because otherwise what happens, and I'm sure some of you guys have done this because this is what I did too, is I'm like, well, I could have this and I could have this and I could have this and I could have this. Have you ever gone to dinner with somebody who's like, well, I could have Japanese and I could have sushi and I could have Chinese and I could have this and I could have this and I could not eat, I don't know, I don't care. There's no clarity. So the universe is sitting there just like you would be with your friend and going, what the F do you want to eat? Right? Where do you want to go? I don't know. You choose. And you're like, okay. So then the universe just chooses for you. It says, well, all right, if you're not going to be clear with me, here's some random stuff. How about that? And then you go, oh, look at all the stuff that showed up. It must be real and true that I must have blah, blah, blah. And we put all these reasonings on it. I was always saying, oh, it meant to be. It must be meant to be if this is what's showing up in my reality. No, it's because you weren't clear. Random stuff shows up when you're not clear. You get little baby bites of stuff when you're not clear, when you haven't actually said, no, I'm having my life like that. What's it gonna take? That's the demand that you make for yourself, okay? Now, if you don't know how to choose that, or maybe you were raised with people who were the more dominant ones, so you were really never allowed to choose, you might actually look at getting some assistance with this. You might actually look at taking the Art of Living Crazy Possible class, right? Why is that? Because this is the course where, because when I looked at this for myself, I started doing this process of going, okay, what do I really want to have? And what are my priorities? And your priorities are not what you think they are. Not one person I have ever facilitated, over 500 people through this class, has ever had energetic priorities that were actually juicy and lit their bodies up. Everybody goes to priorities from this reality that says, oh, I want my family as a priority. If your family is a priority, I would bet 1,000% of the time you are giving up you in order to serve your family. Okay, they say being of service is a priority. That was one of mine. If being of service is one of your priorities, then you will literally leave yourself out. Okay, if money is not one of your priorities, you probably don't have enough of it right now, or as much as you would like. Okay, so there's this way in which to look at what you would like your life to be like and choose these energetic priorities, but you have to get out of this reality looking at all that, looking at from this reality's point of view, and go into a whole different space, okay? And this is what we do in the Art of Living Crazy Possible class, right? So, and then the next part is, you got your priorities, you got what you want, would you like your life to be like, you got your priorities, and then you got to look at targets. Okay, so if you want to if you want to drive from San Diego to New York City, you're not going to get on a cruise ship going to Hawaii, right? You're going to go, hey, all right, where do I want to go? I want to go to New York City. How can I get there? Oh, I can take a train, I could walk, I could take a car, I could take a plane, I could teleport, right? So, but not get on a boat to Hawaii. But that's what we do when we're just following the lightness, is we go, oh, I'm just going to follow the lightness. What's light here? and you don't even know where you're going. So you get on the boat to Hawaii, but you haven't even admitted to yourself that you really want to go to New York City. So really getting clear about those things in your space, in your world, in your head, so that you're like, no, I'm having that. And now you can ask questions and go, okay, so now that I'm having that, ask the questions. All right, how can I get there? What is possible here? What can I do or be? And you can ask and receive your way there. But when you're asking and receiving, I've got this amazing image. I know some of you guys have seen this, but this is like what I see in my head when I look at what I call light chasers. And this is what I was doing. Yeah, teleportation, please. I'm working on that too. When what I call light chasers, and light chasers are when we are, and this is what I was doing too. Hi, Karen. Following the lightness around the universe without any direction, without any target, without knowing what you would like to have your life be like. So this is where you can see it in your life. Your business might be, if you have a business, it might be up and down. You might be on the roller coaster of money. Your relationships, you might kind of be hanging out with people that are okay, but not really juicy for you. You are inconsistent with things. And not that you need to be consistent, because I'm like one of the most consistent people, because I will consistently go for what I'd like to have, inconsistently. It's never like, I'm going to do this 3 times a day. I'm going to do this 4 times a day. I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. every single day. I have no routine, no like predictability. It's totally non-predictable in the consistency, but I show up every single day. I ask questions every single day. I receive every single day. I create every single day, right? So that's the consistent part, but it's actually consistent and then non-predictable. You can't predict what I'm going to do next. Sitting in your bubble without a steering wheel. That's pretty much it. Now, and here's the thing, and I'm going to show you this image in a minute. You can have a great life following the lightness around, right? And I'm not talking about the light feeling. I'm talking about the lightness, the truth for you, like the lighter than heavier. Like you can follow that around, and that's great. And it's probably a better life than maybe what you had created before. But what I'm talking about is for those of you who have a gap. You're like, I know that there's something over there that I'd like to have and I'd like to create. There's something greater and I don't have that yet. And I have been sort of running around in circles or running on the edges of it and haven't really gone to create it yet. Okay, so here's my image. So maybe this will make sense to you guys. So on this side over here, we have the light chaser. This is how I see your energy when you're not clear, when you haven't made the demand of yourself to have what you would like to have. You don't have priorities and you definitely don't have targets because you're asking a billion different questions. You might be asking, oh, what would it take to make, $5 today? And then on the other hand, you're like, what would it take to make 5 billion? And then you're like, what would it take? And you're asking like all over the place. Your asks are like, they don't even make sense. If you wrote them all down, they're literally all over the place, right? So that's energetically what you look like, okay? The universe is like, well, look at all those tendrils out there. I guess I can fulfill on some of those. And let me give you this and this and this and this and this. It's kind of like shopping at Walmart. You're gonna get a lot of random crap. And then you're gonna get some amazing miracles, right? But nothing is ever duplicatable. You're still sort of hoping and wishing things will show up. Scatterbrained, exactly. Okay, now this other image, the congruent of magical creator, is when you have these elements for yourself. You know what you would like your life to be like. And this isn't a conclusion, it's a possibility. It's an awareness. It's these energies of, if I had these energies as my life and everything that showed up, what would that be like? And when you have that, you have a direct connection to the universe that says, this is what I would like. This right here is what I would like. You're not being your friend at the going out to dinner asking, oh, I don't know what I want. I don't know. Like you're not being that to the universe. You're being clear and you're saying, universe, I would like to have this. And then your actions are, then you can take actions that are congruent with what you're asking for, with what you're demanding yourself to be. If you are not having, if you're missing any of these elements, you're going to be over here on some level. Okay, and getting over here is actually the process that I take you through. It's like a method, more like, that I take you through in the Art of Living Crazy Possible. Now, what I love about this class is that when you look at all of these different things, all of these different elements, when you look at them and actually be present with them, you energetically shift. And it might be 1 degree shift. But what happens is that little 1 degree is like little at the apex here, but big as you go out into your life. So if you actually go to this page, and you don't have to do it now, you can do it later. This Art of Living Crazy Possible page. You can see there's 6 stories of change on there. And every single one of them is remarkable. And every one of them did the class about 7 months ago. And every single one of them, their life is completely different. Completely different. Why? Number 1, they stopped feeling the lightness and started looking at what would they really like to have in their life. They set priorities, they set targets, and they started asking their asks congruently with what they wanted to have. They weren't chasing the lightness around anymore. They had sort of a how do I call it? I want to say a measuring stick, but that's not the right word. It's like you have something to go off of. You're not just literally chasing the energy around the universe anymore. Now, the thing is there's a couple of other elements that I take you through in this class that are really, really important. That if you don't get these, you'll continue to have this sort of poo pie under here. And you'll always be trying to do this on top of like a poo pie, icing on top of a poo pie. And you got to get to this one under here, otherwise it doesn't work as well as it can. And the change in your life that's available, because when you get to this space right here, when you're congruent, you get everything you ask for. That's the space that everybody is wanting to get to, that everybody knows is possible. Do you know that's possible for you? Okay, it takes the clarity. It doesn't get created being wishy-washy. It doesn't get created doubting yourself. It doesn't get created believing that other people are right and you're wrong. It doesn't get created in that space. That's all wishy-washy to the universe, and that's when the universe gives you all sorts of random stuff. Okay, so do you guys have any questions so far? Yeah, Jennifer's one of them on there. If you want to go check out Jennifer's story, she's on there. Freaking amazing what she's created. She went from a marriage that was really not fun and not good at all, that she wanted to have the possibility of getting out of, and now she's going through a divorce. It's going really well for her, and she actually created a whole bunch of money, and she doesn't have a job. So those, getting clear about what you'd like and starting to let go of those things that aren't contributing, because you guys, if you don't have a life that you would like to have and it's expanding, then I would guess about 100% of you, because this is every single person I've ever worked with, is holding on to something that you've decided is right, that you decided you need, that you decided you don't want to be judged for, and you're holding on to it. And so that's one of the things we actually look at in the class, is what are you holding on to that's keeping you from having the clarity that you would like to have. So literally this whole class is all about you having clarity, you getting congruent, you having your priorities, you setting up targets that are so freaking juicy for you that you wake up in the morning and go, yes, I'm so excited to be alive. I'm creating that, right? And so today I was working with some people in my VIP program called the Creation Academy, and we were working with somebody's money, and she was talking about making $80,000 a year. She's like, so I was like, how much do you want to make this year in the next 12 months? And she said, 80,000. And I said, is that light for you? And she's like, no. And I was like, how about 90? How about 100? How about 110, 120? And she's like, ooh, 120 is really light. Okay, good. Set your targets. I wouldn't set goals, Debbie. I would set targets. And I talk about that in the class of why. set targets that are light and expansive for you. So I take you through this whole exercise that has you actually relate to your targets as a tool you can use for creation, instead of this thing that you'll never accomplish to judge yourself on, right? Because that's what I always did. I always said, setting goals and setting targets, I never accomplish them anyway, so why even bother? Well, the way I position it, you go, oh, I see how I can actually have that work for me instead of it working against me. And there's a couple of key elements that if you come to class, you'll get the elements. I can't give you guys everything here. I wish I could, but then you wouldn't receive it, and then you would think you got it. Because some of you guys will actually leave this webinar thinking that you got what I said, and you're getting a very small percentage of what I'm talking about. Why is that? Because I can't facilitate everything. It takes 3 days to facilitate it all. It started off 1 day, and that was way too little, and then it went to 2.5 days, and that wasn't enough, so we switched it to 3 days. And 3 days, hopefully it'll be enough to have it all included in there. And the last class we did, we actually had to have a whole separate 1.5 hour section because we didn't even get to everything, okay? Yeah, Veronica says, I'm actually a lot confused. Well, if you want to stop being confused, if you want to stop giving the universe mixed messages, if you want to have the things that you know are possible, the Art of Living Crazy Possible, I would say, is like an amazing invitation for you to have that, and the tools for you to have that. And I don't know of any other class that talks about the stuff we talk about in the Art of Living Crazy Possible. It's just different. It's different. You get a workbook, and you actually have a pen, and you don't run bars during class. You write stuff down. You run bars after class or lunch, but this is like presence to what you're creating, right? And it's practice for that, and it's so amazing because every time I facilitate this class, and like I said, I've facilitated to over 500 people at this point, every time I facilitate it, in my life, I get clarity, even more clarity about what's next in my life. And it's a method, like a process that, and it's not a system and it's not a formula either. It's just kind of like, look at this, and this, and see what you see what you can create. I think method is probably the closest word to it. But anyway, it's the possibility of you having everything that you ask for, right? Because I know now, after actually getting clear on this stuff, like I just worked with my targets again. Every time I start the Creation Academy, I look at all my targets, I look at all my priorities, and I was like, okay, so what are the targets for the next year? And there was a financial one that I was like, whoa, that one is so juicy, but it's really, really big. And I asked myself the question, like, who do I need to be? What do I need to do? And what can I create now so I can have that? That's a very different question than what feels light. What feels light might be walking your dog. What'll create that financial target might be getting to work. So it kind of just depends on what you would like to create in your life, right? And no matter what you want to create, it's all awesome. It doesn't matter. But are you getting everything that you ask for? Are you receiving everything that you ask for or not? If you're not, come play with me. Come play with me. And I don't know when I'm doing this class again, you guys. So we're live streaming it from Rome. And you can come to Rome next week. It's next weekend. Or you can do it live stream. So I'm on the right track of saying I'll have more of this, please. Yeah, totally. I always say that. I'll have more of that. I'll have more of that. I'll have that. That's a great thing to say. It's totally different targets and priorities. Yeah, totally. Okay, I'm just looking through your guys' stuff here. So do you have to give up everything from your current life? Well, no, it depends. It's not that conclusion, Veronica, of I have to give up everything. That's not it. It's way more than that. And you might have some stuff that you got to be willing to let go of that aren't creating a reality, but you probably already know the things that you're holding on to, because we do. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody that hasn't known some of the things that they were holding on to that they're like, oh, I know it, I knew it. Suzanne, it's actually next weekend, so in a week. Do you guys have any other questions about the class? I would love to contribute to you guys in this class. I would love to empower you with these particular tools and priorities and targets, the clarity that you get. The other thing we talk about too is commitment to you in the class. And if you don't have commitment to you, you'll be a light chaser. And you won't ever really create what is possible for you. But like I said before, your life will be lighter if you use any of the access tools. Your life will be lighter. It's just a question of, do you want to create something spectacular, something phenomenal? What's the format like? I don't know how to answer that question. You come to class, we clear stuff, you create stuff, and then you take a break, and then you come back. It's July 28th, 29th, and 30th in Rome. So I don't know what the times are in the US, but if you go to that page, you'll see all the times. You'll see all the information. Every bit of information is actually on the page. And like I said, we have watch those videos, you guys. And if you aren't inspired by those videos, don't come to class. If you are inspired by the amount of change, like they literally have new realities in 7 months, right? Like totally new realities in 7 months. And it's kind of like, do you want to wait another 7 months? That's what I always think. Like somebody said the other day, like, oh, I'm waiting for this class to come to my city. And I'm like, oh, and then somebody else said, I'm waiting for you to do classes in Australia. And I was like, why would you go another day without having these tools in your life if you know already that you'd like to have them? I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. The minute I found out, I realized that these tools were working for me, that it was creating more for me, I was like, I'm having all of them. But that's just me. I have that demand in my space of I'm having it all. I'm not going to come here and live a pathetic life anymore. I did that for 33 years. I'm not doing that anymore. That's not what I came here for. So this is one way to have your priorities present for you. Have your asks be congruent. And I talk a lot about that. You'll see me talk a lot about that on Facebook. Is like, is that even congruent? And what's so amazing is when I facilitate people that have this, that know their priorities and have their targets, anything that comes up, all you got to do is ask, hey, is this a match to your priorities and targets? It's a clear yes or no. You know. When you're clear on your priorities and targets, you know. And it's such an easy choice to go, nope, not a contribution, not a priority. Got it, done. And there's this clear-cutness where you stop being wishy-washy with yourself. Because the only thing that's happening with the wishy-washiness is you're preventing yourself from having everything that you ask for. That's all. How's it get better than that? All right. Do you guys have any other questions? Oh, I wrote this down for you guys. So why the feeling the lightness doesn't work. Number one, you haven't gotten clear about what you'd like to have your life be like. Number two, because you're just following the light around everywhere and then you're feeling it all, which is all judgment anyway. Two is if you don't have number one, which is clarity, you can't be the demand because then you're being the demand on top of wishy-washy. Have you ever known anybody, maybe yourself, who's been demanding on top of wishy-washy? I'm demanding, but I don't know what I want. All right. And then three is your asks from there allow the universe to not be confused. Allow the universe to know exactly what you're asking for. And then a confused, wishy-washy universe is going to give you a random life. Okay? And like I said, it's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of what would you like to create? What do you know is possible? So Karen says, if something had to be live for, is this material and revisit later? you work on one of those days, you need to go through the material in order because every segment builds on itself. I do have a, well, we are going to be recording it all, right? So if you have to miss a little bit or a day or whatever, you're going to want to go through it. But the thing about this class is if you miss a segment, the next segment builds on the last segment, so you'll be lost. So what you could do, which a few people are doing because they can't actually be there live, or it's like in the middle of the night, is they're just watching it afterwards. And we get people all the time who do that. And then they'll send their questions in. But typically we address most of the questions in class. So it's usually, I'm like, hey, do the live streamers have any questions? And it's like, no, you've addressed everything. So that's really cool part. This Share says, for me, it's more like I'm demanding and I want this and I want that and I want this. Yeah. And then is it showing up? And when you're demanding it, your demand is not a demand of the universe. Your demand is of yourself. You request of the universe. You don't demand of the universe. No, it's not showing up. So then I would wonder if there's a lack of clarity on your priorities and a lack of clarity on your targets. Most humanoids don't want to set targets, right? We don't want to actually set targets. Some really like targets, but others don't at all. Like I didn't, like I said before, like I hated targets. So what I did was I avoided setting any of them because I always thought I was going to fail. We look at that. We actually clear that, and it's a common place that humanoids go to around their separation from this reality. So what would it be like if you cleared everywhere that this reality is not going to work for you? Don't want that, do ya? Hey, thanks. So are you, Catherine. All right, you guys. Do you guys have any other questions about any of this or the Ask Art of Living Crazy Possible class? I freaking love this class, you guys. I use this process has enabled me to get out of $150,000 in debt. It has enabled me to exponentialize my business. It has enabled me to get super clear on my messaging in my business. It's enabled me to create a relationship that is flippin' amazing. It's enabled me to travel the world. Like one of the things I did today, because I just got here from, yeah, see, Cindy says, I love targets, but I don't take any of them seriously. Yeah, exactly, because there's a lack of clarity somewhere. Because if you related to yourself like that was your creation and that was your message to the universe, you might take it more seriously instead of just being like, oh, I don't know, whatever. And I know, Cindy, you're a powerful creator. So I wonder if you took it seriously. And then not seriously like seriously, but like actually acknowledge the potency of your targets. What could you create? But I traveled here yesterday from, or God, I guess it was the day before yesterday. I can't remember. Oh, days. From Australia to Vancouver. And I was in the like Economy Plus, which is great seats. And they actually give really good food on Delta. And the middle section, the seats are nicer. They lean back more. It was really great. So I thought, oh, this might really work for me, because then I was like, all these seats next to me, there was like nobody in that section. And I was like, huh, this could be cool. But I couldn't sleep. Like I didn't sleep at all. So I was up for practically 24 hours. And then last night, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. And this morning, I've been up all day long. So, I was looking at that today and I was like, wow, like that took me out. I was supposed to do this hours ago. I couldn't function. I was just exhausted. And I was like, well, wait a second. Is what I chose congruent with what I'm asking for and what I'm creating? And it was like, meh, meh. No, it's not, Corey. It's not. So I was like, wait a second. So what else can I choose here to get congruent with what I'm asking for? And I'm asking for ease with travel. I'm asking to, I've got this trip where I'm coming here to Vancouver, and next week I go to Rome for 2 weeks. I facilitate a class. I'm in Maestro. I go back to North Carolina. I'm in the Choice of Possibility with Gary. And then I go to San Diego and I facilitate a Unicorn CEO class, but then I facilitate a foundation class, and then I head back to Australia. So it's 6 weeks of classes, 5 long haul, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 long haul flights. And that's not always the easiest thing for bodies, right? So I was like, wait a second, what do I need to choose here? So today I made a big choice, and I upgraded all my tickets to first class. And I haven't done that before. And I was like, I can't not do it anymore. I can't not do it anymore. Yeah, I've tried that, Karen. It didn't really do much for me, unfortunately. So, and I've got tools that help, but this time it was just harder on my body. Okay, cool. What would be easier on my body? If I could actually lay down and sleep on the plane. Okay, Corey, when are you going to choose that? Okay, I know what it's like. And Karen, when you don't sleep, it doesn't matter about jet lag. When you just don't sleep at all. It's being up for 24 hours. So no matter where you are in the world, whatever time it is, if you don't sleep for 24 hours, that might have an impact on you. So when you start to acknowledge the things that you haven't been willing to choose that are right there in front of you, then the universe goes, oh, you're ready to have that now. Okay. And then the universe starts rearranging for you. The universe can't rearrange for you if you're being wishy-washy, because it's always on its toes. It's like, well, I don't know what you want. Like, here you go, here you go, here you go. It's like getting bad random Christmas gifts all the time instead of what you would really like to have, right? Get the clarity. So anyway, ALCP Live. There's the link again. I would love to have you come but be in the class. Come and get clarity, because if you are here to create a life that is phenomenal for you, then you have to get clear. You can't avoid it. I mean, you can't avoid it, but there's a disconnect. And until you have the clarity, it doesn't connect. It doesn't work like that. So Karen says, oh, cool, like your clarity on seriously. Yeah, I say seriously, but not like seriously, but like look at it. Like it's something you actually want to pay attention to. Okay? All right, great. And somebody said to me yesterday, it's like, wow, you were like really cut and dry about things. And I was like, well, now I am, because I got clear on what I'd like my life to be like. I got clear on my priorities. I got clear on my targets. So anything that doesn't contribute to my priorities, my targets, what I'm creating, then it doesn't get included, because it's not going to contribute. Those other things aren't going to contribute. Like Gary said, he said the other day somewhere I was listening to him, and he said, I don't do social lunches. Like it doesn't go out to lunch for social reasons. He's like, because it doesn't contribute anything to my life. He's like, I have business lunches because that contributes to my business, my life, and he enjoys it. And I'm the same way. I prefer not to go out drinking at a bar, social night. Like that's not really that fun for me. I would actually rather sit here and talk to you guys talking about this kind of stuff, or create a class, or do some body work, or something else that would actually contribute to my priorities. Okay? Like I said though, if you don't know your priorities and you don't have targets, none of this matters, because then you're being wishy-washy. You won't just choose and dedicate yourself to the life that you would like to have. So how do we stop wishy-washy? Targets, priorities. And these aren't like targets and priorities that are dreadful. They're the ones that light you up. They're the ones that you're like, if I create that, yes, I'm having that. Like that's what I looked at, because I've been playing with the question of what would it actually, I've been playing with this for a couple of years now. What would it be like if we lived on a planet that ask and you shall receive was taught to people in kindergarten? That people actually knew that they could ask and receive. And I was like, wow, what would that be like? Oh my God. Like, if you tap into the energy of that, everything would be different. Everything would be different. You wouldn't have the same reality at all. It would be different. And that's the question I keep asking is, what's it going to take to empower 1 billion people with ask and receive, knowing that they know, knowing that they can create simply by asking, getting the people who are interested in getting out of the conclusion universe and into possibility, let's empower them. Not everybody's interested in it, but lots of people are that don't know about it yet. Does everyone get real clear on their priorities? Catherine, are you talking about in the class? Does everyone get real clear? That's what I facilitate. It's your choice to get clear, but I take you through a process that makes it really easy. So it's not like this confusing, overwhelming thing. It's actually really like, oh, you get it in a way where you're like, I've been avoiding that? Oh, that's silly. Yeah. All right, cool. Do you guys have any other questions? Yes, in the class, yeah. Yeah, so that's what the facilitation is this. I'm gonna go like this with your head and go, look at this real quick, all right? Now look at this right here, and then now look at this. And you go, we have these moments where it's like, people literally go, oh! Like, because they get it. They actually see where they have been messing themselves up. And they go, oh my, and like literally that's what people do in class, out loud. They're like, oh my gosh, oh! And then something just unravels. Like totally unravels. And that thing that was blocking them so they couldn't get the clarity starts to become, like, go away. So you go, oh, wow. That's really simple now that thing is gone. Should I ask for the main goal or would you ask for the step together? Now, that's a kind of a trick question because I can't tell you. In the class, we actually go through the different kinds of targets because a lot of people are functioning from either too small or fantasy. And if you're functioning from too small, it's not going to be enough for you. If you're functioning from fantasy, you will sabotage everything in between. So many people over the years, oh my God, they're like, I want $5 million. No, you don't. You would have created it already. They say 5 million to keep them from creating a life that would actually work for them. That might be a couple 100,000 or 100,000. Sometimes it's 50,000. But they're in some fantasy land about it. So we get you out of fantasy land too, because fantasy land doesn't work, and it's all just hoping and wishing. So hopefully that helps. I can't facilitate that right now. It's just too big of a topic. Too big of a topic. Plus, my point of view is you kind of need the other elements to go with it anyway. Otherwise, it doesn't really work because you don't have the underneath stuff. So you can create targets on top of a poo pie, but you'll do like Cindy was saying of like, I like to make up targets, but I don't ever do anything with them. You'll still function from that space. Cool. All right. Well, what else is possible here? Hey, Sharon Gibson. Sure, I function from fantasy. Yeah. How's fantasy? Oh, my rear end is hurting. This is kind of a plastic chair I'm sitting on. How's the fantasy working for you? I was functioning from fantasy too. I was like, if I just read one more book, if I just do one more healing session, if I just get one more psychic to tell me some stuff, then it'll all change. No, that's not what changed anything. None of that. Wait, hold on. The framework of lightness stems from bars if it feels heavy or it's not right. Okay, here's the thing. It's not about feeling anything, Diana. It's about, we talked about this in the beginning, so you actually might want to, when we're done here, go back to the beginning and watch it. I actually went through all of that already. And it's not about the feeling of it. It's about the awareness of the lightness and heaviness of the energy. And that doesn't, it's not a feeling. So anyway, I talk about more of it in the beginning. If we can do it online, can we roach? Yep, you get the recordings and you get the downloaded audios and you get a workbook. You get a workbook too. And the workbook is freaking awesome. I'm gonna actually edit it this weekend. And the workbook is awesome because it's actually what I use. This is what I use. This literally, guys, I had $150,000 of debt that I've now paid off. In the regular world, that's unheard of. People come to me and go, oh, Corey, I'm so in debt. I'm like, how much you got? Thinking they're gonna say like 200,000. They say like, 7,500. I'm like, that's easy. That's nothing. Like $150,000 in debt I had that I changed, right? Going from creating a business that was making me go into debt to creating something that I freaking love, right? The changes that you can make by getting clear, your whole entire life will be different in a short amount of time. A very short amount of time compared to all the time you've spent on everything else that's not worked for you, that's got you to this point. Now, maybe it's worked for you to get you to this point, so we don't want to necessarily discount it. But what I know is that the things that I chose before all contributed to me knowing what wasn't going to work for me. I didn't ever really get huge shift. I got like these mini little ahas, but I never got real change. My money situation never changed. My relationship situation never changed. Nothing actually gave me freedom until I started using access tools, but also got really clear about what I want my life to be like. So the question is would you like to have it faster with more speed and have that clarity for yourself sooner rather than later? Because you'll probably get the clarity at some point, but at the pace you're going, you want to look at what's it going to take. This is kind of the expedited route. That's my point of view. So all you have to do is ask, truth, will this be a contribution to me creating the life I'd love to be living? My crazy possible life? Because the crazy possible is so freaking brilliant because it's possible, but you are making it crazy to create it. Ta-da! So, crazy possible life is available for you if you'd like to choose it. And you'll get there eventually. But like for me, after 12 years, I spent 12 years going to psychics and spending money and in seminars, and I did freaking everything, probably like a lot of you guys, and nothing really changed. So for me personally, it was like, no, I was 33 at the time. I'm not spending another 80 years struggling with this. I'm done. I'm having something different now, whatever it takes. So if you have that demand in your world, come and play with me. And we'll get you clear. And like I said, you can come to Rome. Yeah, Rome. Or you can do it online, live. Or live stream, or get it and then watch it later. That is an option as well. All right, guys. You have any other questions here? Yeah, sure, it says not working at all. Sheesh. Sheesh. So maybe come to class, honey pie. Let's get you congruent. Let's get you the congruent magical creator. Dun, dun, dun. And if you're just joining and you didn't catch the part about why I stopped following the light feeling, please go to the beginning and watch, because I talk about it all there and I really don't want to repeat myself again right now. It's pretty good though. And I'm not dissing Access at all. If you just joined in, it's actually a contribution to having the tools work even better for you. Not stop following the lightness. Lightness is amazing. Light feelings, not so amazing. Lightness around the universe, not so amazing. Lightness that's congruent with what you're asking for, brilliant. All right, you guys, I'm exhausted. I got like 3 hours of sleep, so it's 9 o'clock. I think I'm gonna try to go to bed. And it's light out. It's still light out. It's crazy. All right, you guys. You are so welcome. I freaking adore you. I'd like to be congruent finally in my life. Yeah! Come play, Darlene. Let's play. It's so much fun. The class is like awesome because like I said, everybody goes, oh! And then you're like free. And you're like, oh! Free. And you're like, oh my God, that's where I've been functioning from to screw up, like to not choose what I really wanted to create. That's what everybody does. And you're like, oh, what if you just don't have to do that anymore? You guys are so welcome. See you next time. True story, Jennifer says. True story. Go watch Jennifer's story on the page. We'll post it one more time for you guys who just jumped on. This truly is a remarkable creation, and it's totally changed my life and lots of other people. So what else is possible? All right, you guys. See you later. Bye.